Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to an informative meeting to discuss the project at the High Hanover parking facility in downtown Portsmouth. We'll do some basic introductions just for the people here at the table, and then we'll introduce the entire team that is working on the garage. But my name is Joseph Almeida. I'm the facilities manager with the City of Portsmouth.
My name is Peter Rice. I'm the Director of Public Works.
My name is Paul Henry. I'm the Facilities Project Manager.
Benjamin Fletcher, Parking Director.
And Mark Zalewski, Project Manager for Walker Consultancy, Engineer of Record for the project.
Very good. Peter, you might want to, if you're able to screen share what I have on this there.
You want the other team to?
Yeah, but I have their names up. I'll have their names up on the screen.
There?
Yeah, go to that's it, correct? Can we see that yet on the screen? Very good. So I just wanted to make some basic introductions and then allow the teams to introduce themselves. We're here because the High Hanover parking facility, for any of you that go into it daily or have been in it recently, know that it is in desperate need of some major restoration work. The project was advertised and out to bid, and the successful bidder was Structural Preservation Systems. They are here with us tonight, and Walker Parking is the engineering firm that has been working on this garage for several years. As a matter of fact, they were involved with some feasibility condition assessments back in 2014, and they've been helping us take care of the garage since. So at this time, I would like to allow the structural team to introduce themselves. They're via Zoom. So Rishi, if you want to start introductions of your team, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Myself, Rishikesh. I'm a project manager with Structural Preservation Systems. My team is Amit Shah, one of the other project managers who will be working on this project. Matt Stover, who will be our superintendent for the job, and then Bob Miller, who is our construction manager. They should soon be joining in, if not already.
Very good. Thank you. And Mark, you have your team consists of yourself and would you like to make other introductions for your team as well?
I have my project engineer that will be working on site during construction, Nico Heritos, works for us. I'll also have the Director of Restoration out of our Boston office as our peer review, quality control, and overseer.
Great. Wonderful. So please know that to my left, Paul Henry is a recent addition to our team. He's been hired to manage this project for the city. He brings years of experience managing complex projects like this, and he will be at the helm of this project for the city, and he'll be a major point of contact. And we do have the public should know that on the city's website there's a project page, and there's contact information, and I have it here just so you can see what the page looks like when you go into the City of Portsmouth website, the Public Works tab. You can find the Hanover Garage project. There will be updates to the project on that page, as well as contacts. So like all of the projects at Public Works, the best way to reach us is this way, through the website, right to the project tab. I'd like for Mark now to maybe talk a little bit about what the project consists of, and talk to us about the fact that it's a multi-phase, 3-year project due to the fact that we were avoiding the extreme cold temperatures that the project might be shut down. Unless we have mild winters, we can keep working. But it's a very complex project in that way, and there are some milestones on a schedule up here on the screen that we are targeting. We won't be held to these, but we'll try to beat them, and these are our target dates. But Mark, I'll allow you to present.
All right. So I'll go through a little brief overview of my experiences with the Hanover Street parking garage, working with the City of Portsmouth Public Works. Probably in 2014, the initial appraisal was put together by Walker. At that time, I think we were Walker Restoration Consultants. We developed a comprehensive program to restore the garage both inside and outside the garage, and we presented it to the city, and we gave them several options to consider. The best option, the recommended option, is the approach we're taking for the long-term, service life and durability on that structure so it can remain in service. The garage has specific areas of attention that have to be addressed in certain sequences or priorities where we have physical damage to, structural elements. We're looking at address those in the first year. We're also looking at starting with work on the upper tier. As we work through the garage, we'll bring ourselves down through the lower tiers. That way we're not going back over and going across the work that we completed. Now, it's broken into sequences, or what we call construction phases. This is to accommodate operations. The garage will not be closed, but there will be portions of the garage where the parking will be considerably reduced. We're looking at several hundred spaces out of service at one time to facilitate the safe construction work, and we're going to be taking precautions so that we can kind of control what is going to happen to the environment, both in noise and dust. So there are paneled partitions with insulation. Contractor will seal the floors top and bottom inside these work zones. We have the area directly below. The same sequence of protection has to go up. They install shoring, and then we start working on the concrete and steel elements of the garage. Those will go over a 3-year period. There's a time in which construction activities may have to be halted because the inclement weather, such as snowfall, heavy snowfall, real sub-cold weather, requires a lot of added cost for protection and may not be economically feasible. It's something that we're studying right now with the contractor. He's going to work up what he believes is possible through certain parts of the winter, but there may be a period where we just can't do the work and we resume it. My expectation is that we would probably be able to restart the work in March of next year, and the intent would be to start on the job and run with this job until November again, and then decide whether we go through the winter months of December, January, and February. So the work in the inside is pretty fundamental. It's concrete repairs where there's a lot of concrete deterioration and damage to the floors. It's repairs to the structural steel where there's corrosion damage and a loss of structural capacities. And then there's treatments to preserve and protect the structure, which involve waterproof coatings, sealants, paint applications, and some improvements in the form of signage and graphics that the city is looking to introduce into the garage as well. So we're looking at a full restoration from inside and out. Now, I talked to you about the inside. The outside masonry facade, there are areas of the masonry facade that have to have more attention than others. Some of the damage and deterioration requires reconstruction. Some of it's simply repairs. So that would be facilitated over the course of the summer, at least on the contractor schedule. It'll go through the course of the summer, and we'll be working probably on one elevation at a time and moving around the facility. So we're looking at how to protect the public interest of travel around the facility as well as vehicular travel in and out of the facility. Those are taken into consideration during construction. There is work inside the stair towers as well, so we'll in sequence shut off certain stair towers, divert pedestrian flow to alternate stair towers. So there'll be a certain amount of inconvenience to the public, but we feel this is the best and safest approach to undertaking that particular part of the project's work.
Mark, thank you. Thank you for that. I forgot to mention Mike Cassad is also here in the chambers, as he's a team member with the city as well. He's the general foreman of the parking garage, and he will be heavily involved as well. Peter, I'm wondering if you might, when you get a chance, I know that people are inquiring right now to participate, but if you could screen share again, I just wanted to share the phasing plans that and again, these are small scale for this presentation, but I wanted the public to know that we have, it's probably the next page. Yeah, so please know that we have, or Walker has actually, with our assistance, painstakingly defined the phases of the project throughout the garage. So we know where we're going to start, we know where we're going to be moving to next, and we know the sequence that the path we're going to take throughout the project. And again, I don't expect people to be able to read this. I just want you to know that these plans do exist, and we will upload the entire drawing set onto the website. This represents 2023 that Peter's scrolling through now, and then the last sheet represents 2024. So Again, just to repeat, the phases are very well defined, and each of those phases represent their own challenges. You can take that off now. They require signage, they require communication, they require a lot of communication with users, abutters, residents, businesses, and we expect a lot of that back and forth. I actually myself live 50 feet away from the garage, so I know residents are going to be impacted greatly by this project. I don't want to suggest that this is going to be an easy project. This will be a tough project. So we don't want to sugarcoat it. It will be loud, it will be long, noisy, and there will be unexpected issues that arise. Please do know that we have, within the drawing set, Walker Parking has designed some sound mitigation features that will be employed throughout the project to try to minimize sound traveling outside of the garage. But as everyone knows, the garage is a very open structure, and when you put tools onto that concrete, sound is going to travel. But we will surround the areas that we're working on with sound barriers to absorb as much as we can and deflect. And we will expect that we will hear and work with the abutters on minimizing the impact. I didn't know if there was anything that the structural team wanted to add. I think we...
I was trying to get Jesse, I can't pronounce his last name, promoted up to panelist. I apologize, it doesn't seem to be working.
Okay.
That's not a problem at all. That's fine.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Were there any, Peter, are there any, I see that some participants are chatting. Is there anyone that's trying to ask questions of so far as to what we've presented?
If any folks have a question, I think Judy Miller is really the only person in attendance, virtual, and Judy raised her hand, so I will allow her to talk.
Very good.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy Miller, 77 Hanover Street. I heard a little bit about sound mitigation and sound barriers. Will that be throughout the project, especially starting on the upper level? We'd appreciate as much of that as possible. So if you could maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. Mark, I might ask you to describe the actual sound mitigation feature that you've designed and you've employed in other projects as well.
So as Joe alluded to, the unfortunates of doing repairs to concrete is you have to break the concrete, and the most common method is, and the most feasible method for this particular application is jackhammers or chipping hammers. The sound attenuation will migrate, so we're trying to cut the path and cut the decibel ratings down by putting up plywood partitioning filled with styrofoam, 2 inches of foam fill in it, and it'll be sealed from top to bottom of floor so that we can kind of control and contain the noise inside. However, there will be some noise mitigation that transmits through the steel frame, just the wrapping and tapping of concrete on the floor slab that's attached to the frame. So, any improvements that we can make along the way, we're certainly going to make adjustments to them. We're going to listen to the conditions outside the garage to see, how far it cut off. Generally, if beyond 100 feet, you lose a certain amount of decibels in noise attenuation. So we're hoping that we can really reduce it before it gets to that point, and that you won't have as much construction noise. It won't be constant. I'll say this, that there'll be periods of time for maybe a week or 2 weeks where they're doing demolition, then there'll be days where they don't do any demolition necessarily, so it won't be a constant 5 days a week, for, months on end. It's going to be, and the other is that we're not going to allow any noise-related work to start until after 8 o'clock. So they can do a soft start, which is just getting set up, but no noise until after 8. We intend that the work will suspend by 6 p.m., so there won't be noise from 6 p.m. until 8 the next morning. So, hopefully we won't disrupt the neighborhood too much.
And Judy, I can promise you, I will enforce that because I'm your neighbor, and I'll hear it just as loud as you will. So there will not be early morning work and late into the evening work.
Yeah, so, well, I had my hand up again. 6
Yeah.
o'clock seems pretty late. But another comment I wanted to make was, and I'm forgetting when, but a few years ago, there was jackhammering at the garage for some repair that was done. And I'm sure you have the information about that. Was there any sound mitigation at that point? Because that was pretty noisy.
Yeah,
There was none.
Yeah, there was none. There was none. So
Yeah, that particular project was small, discrete repair sites. These are more substantial repair sites over the structural framing, so it involves a lot more demolition in given areas. And as far as the 6 o'clock, I said 6 o'clock, but however, the contractor is going to work, generally is working just 8 hours. So if they decide that they need to stay, and it may be unrelated to demolition, they may stay later, but typically they only going to work eight hours, so starting at 8 o'clock to 5 probably.
did we answer your questions, Judy?
Yes, thank you.
No, I'm not rushing you. I just wanted to make sure that we were addressing them. So if you had other questions, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just that it's 3 years, and
Yeah.
so I'm sure your website will be very informative, which will be helpful.
Yeah.
But I hope the sound mitigation is foremost on your minds.
Yeah.
Construction is disruptive, and, we'll do the best we can to mitigate the impacts to folks. But, this is a critical piece of infrastructure for the city, and this work is very, very, very much needed. So there is really, it's not an option to push this off. It's not this is not a discretionary project.
And do know that there are several exclusionary dates to the project. I mean, we at this time, we are not planning on working weekends or holidays, and there are several special events throughout the summer, whether it's, Market Square Day and then the 400th celebration will have several days where there are things going on that we probably will not want to be working the project. So we will publish those exclusionary dates, or we'll share them somehow, maybe on the website. So as of right now, we're trying to stay away from weekends. If there's something that accelerates the project and gets it over with quicker for everyone, and the contractor asks to work a few Saturdays or something, then we might consider that just to get it over with quicker.
So there's, I don't see anybody else online on Zoom. I see Judy's hand again, but there's a gentleman in the no questions from the public.
Comments, if you, okay,
Okay.
great. We'll go back to her.
Sure, Judy.
Well, I just wanted to say, we park, we have 2 cars, so we park in the Foundry garage. And I know in prior years, we parked at Hanover Garage. And I was very careful not to park under a pipe or anything that looked like it would fall on my car.
Yeah.
So I do realize that this is very necessary. So I encourage that, the project be done. Thank you.
Very good.
So one other thing to be aware of is that similar to other projects, we're going to be doing monthly public meetings to allow businesses and residents to hear a status update from staff. We haven't decided where that will be held and what the dates will be, but we will make sure we publicize that, and we'll establish a regular routine meeting. And that we've done this on the Islington project so that businesses have a conduit to express concerns or thoughts and things like that associated with the project. And, we understand this is a long project. We understand this is disruptive. But, the way we can minimize and help the project along is through communication And, you know, that's why we have Paul Henry who will be on site, and he'll be our direct point of contact. However, Ben Fletcher, Joe Almeida, and myself are also available, as well as Mike Cassad, are also available if need be, if you're not getting satisfaction. And, you know, and there are things that we can accommodate, but there are things that we can't accommodate, and we will do the best we can to mitigate impacts. But there are certain things, unfortunately, that just are disruptive.
Very good.
Judy, do you have another question? I know your hand's just still up.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't. Thank you.
The other member of the team that we didn't mention is Sean Clancy. Sean Clancy's the Assistant City Manager for Economic Development. Now, Sean, did you want to add anything at this time?
No, Peter, I'll just follow along and being available as a resource, so thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
From the structure team, anything you guys would like to add?
No, I think you guys covered it pretty well. I think we have a good project for the next 3 years to start with and work with you guys. The team is pretty strong. I think there's been a great deal of effort which has been put towards sound attenuation, like we have discussed, and the city has spent considerable time, and Walker as well, on doing it.
Oh, there we go. Very good. Thank you, Rishi. As a matter of fact, you had already started, the construction of the sound barriers are actually in fabrication now, from what I understand, from what you told us. And what we haven't mentioned yet, we did flash the schedule up on the screen, but the intended starting window is after the 4th of, the week of the 4th of July. So its timing is good because Market Square Day will have passed by then, and you know, the 4th of July week will have passed, and then we're looking at hitting the ground. So, and as you know, Foundry Garage exists now, which didn't in the past, and then the resurfacing of the Bridge Street lot is now complete. So we have a very nice window to start the project. All right, that really summarizes what we wanted to present tonight. So if there are no other comments or questions, we can actually adjourn.
We appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and look forward to working with residents and businesses as we proceed in this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.